close that out.
All right, hello and welcome. So, there was a 2 week gap between the Pokemon anime in which Derry and I were like, "Oh, this is the perfect time to do our Scarlet and Violet review." We finished our review like mid March, not mid March. We finished our playthrough mid March. Wow, I'm already it hasn't even been a minute, and I'm already doing the weird dyslexic thing that I do with words. Um, but yeah, so here we are. I've been refining and adding a bunch of links to our review page. I went through a setup here so I can make sure I can see my notes while we talk about it. And we're also going to break this up into 3 parts. So perhaps what's going to happen is you might see 3 segmented videos reviewing Scarlet and Violet, or you might see one big video in a really, really awkward time because the new episode of Pokemon Horizons is in just a couple days now. Man, where did those 2 weeks go? With me, as always, is Darian. Say hi.
Hello.
And unfortunately, I wasn't recording. He was getting out of bed because it was the funniest thing ever. Man saw himself and saw God at the same time.
How stupid I looked,
The
honestly.
fear of God was placed into that man immediately. So today we're gonna cover the starters, the open world gimmick, our team for our second playthrough. I've said this like 3 times to Darren already. He's probably gonna blow his brains out after this. And then all of the main battle centric things in this game. That's gyms, the Titans, the Team Star fights. We're gonna cover all that stuff today, and then next time we're gonna start with the school aspects and some of the other mechanics in the game and how we thought about them. So, firstly, starters. Something fun that we've been doing the past few games since BDSP, if not earlier. Wait, BDSP came after Gen 8's debut, right?
Yeah.
So we did it in Sword and Shield as well. It might have been since Sword and Shield. We did it for Let's Darkiest, BDSP, and we did it for this game. I let Darian and Jaquan pick their starters. Usually it goes like Darian, Jaquan, and then me. That's basically an order of who's the most opinionated about their starter. And I love and I can't wait for the next game to come out and for me to not choose my starter for like the 5th game in a row and be completely fine with it. So Darian in his first playthrough went with Skeldurge, and since this is a actual review, I'm gonna have Darian talk about Fuecoco, Quackalore, and Skeldurge. Go.
Um, Looking back, I know it may be a little bit of recency bias. I think it may be my favorite fire type starter line to this date. I think Fuecoco is perfect. It's such a adorable little goofball. He just always has that big, stupid look on his face that
Yeah.
makes me smile. Crocalore with its little fiery sombrero that it gets in the middle stage. And that's usually where sometimes a lot of the mid stages will falter. More on the modern day, because you look at like I chose Chespin and Quilden's kind of goofy looking, but still cool.
Yeah, Quilden fits
Um,
really well.
but and then of course you get Skeledirge. The only bad thing about it is after just playing Legends Arceus and using Typhlosion,
Mm.
it was another Fire Ghost type. Fire Ghost seems to be the new firefighting because I'm seeing a lot. Fire Ghost is becoming a very common type. It's cool, but I really did because I really wanted to use Ceruledge, but
Right.
we'll
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
you're
that for a
right.
second
Yeah, you're
playthrough.
right.
I
You're right.
really wanted to use Ceruledge, but when I found out they were the same type, it kind of disappointed me. But in the end, I mean, Skeledirge is a fantastic Pokemon. It's a bit different than normal fire type Pokemon. It's the defensive Pokemon of
Right.
the
Right.
starter trio this time around. Usually with the Pokemon like Cinderace Cineroar is more defensive, but
Yeah,
Cinderace,
Cineroar is definitely known
yeah,
for its like
yeah,
offensive
you got
power, but it's a little
Cinderace,
bulkier.
Infernape, Blaziken, Typhlosion, Charizard, all these hyper offense Pokemon. You have Skeledirge that's slower but good HP and defense, has a great signature move with Torch Song that decent base power and raises your special attack by
Yeah.
one stage.
It's the best
Unaware
of
is
the
its hidden ability.
three.
It's
It's the
definitely
best of
very
the
good.
three when it comes to raid battles. I know that much.
Yes.
That's the only time I've used it. I've only done 2 playthroughs of the game. My starter ended up being Quaxley because they didn't want it, and lo and behold, we didn't really spoil ourselves on what the evolution line was like until last minute. And when I saw that flamboyant carnival dancer, I was like, "Yeah, this is mine. This is me. This is my spirit animal." Um, so yeah, Quaxley has the most personality out of any starter, especially in the anime. The way that it just casually combs over its hair, fixes it. The fact that it has this whole basically second form where its hair is just completely a mess, and like the sort of personalities that come. We had something like that, I think, with a few previous starters. Um, I can't really think. I know Rowlet is a Pokemon that's definitely picky about its appearance.
Hmm.
And then some middle stage evolutions probably also are that way. But the thing with Quaxley is it's not that it's really uptight about its appearance; it's that it's really proud of its appearance. And Quaxwell, I'm not even going to talk about that. We haven't even really seen it in the anime. It's a really interesting mid stage. At first, I thought yeah, it's pretty goofy, but um, yeah, Quaquaval just makes up for it in It's just a raging homo, and I love it. It's uh absolutely amazing, absolutely flamboyant. Aqua Step is a really fun move, giving it basically a water equivalent to Flame Charge. The water fighting is a pretty rare type, I would say.
Yeah.
We don't get too much of that, especially because fighting fatigue was mostly on the fire types. Um, am I right? Is Quaquaval water fighting?
Yeah, it's water fighting. And I know we
It
got
feels
it the
weird,
previous gen with Urshifu, but before
right?
that, but we didn't have like any. I
One of
don't
the
think we had any. Was it only Poliwrath? I know we're probably missing one, but is
yeah,
Poliwrath the
Polyrath.
last time we had it
Polyrath is a
before
water
Urshifu
fighting.
water?
It might be.
I don't recall
I don't think I know any
any
other
other
water
ones.
fighting types. And there's also Aquabeat is probably water fighting too, right?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
So there's a really small amount of them. And fighting as a type overall is kind of mid. It has some pretty blatant weaknesses. Add any other type to it, and it becomes even scarier of a weakness. Competitively, I think Meowscarada was one that we saw the most.
Yeah. Out of the
Because of
bunch.
its free crit. Same thing with Inteleon, I think, last gen with just a free crit mechanic. Meowscarada I used in our second playthrough, and Darian, what did you use in your second playthrough? You boxed your
I
starter.
s- yeah, I started with Quaxley though.
Yeah. But you didn't keep it for more than like a
No, it was
couple minutes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Didn't
get
pick
into
the
that.
team too.
We'll get into that. So yeah, I ended up using Meowscarada, and it's all right. I love Quaquaval so much more personality wise. Meowscarada is furry bait for a lot of people, so that's kind of put an edge on it. But it reminds me of another one of my favorite archetypes, which is like the more performance types. I named it Shaco after my main in League of Legends, and yeah, I think we cover all three from here. Obviously, Liko Pokemon in the anime, Sprigatito. We've seen a lot of these starters in their early stages, but if you've seen the rest of the podcast episodes that we've made, which are almost all exclusively on the Pokemon anime, her Sprigatito just evolved. So we're going to see more personality-wise, um, just how these Pokemon interact with the world, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, for me, honestly, Skeleturge is unfortunately my least favorite of the three, just by default. It's not really because I don't like it. It's just Quaquaval has a lot of personality. Meowscarada reminds me of one of my favorite archetypes, and then Skeleturge, I'm not really a big Croc guy either, so it makes sense. I have a disdain for Gen 2, and I know Frogger is like the only viable starter there. So I often just look at that Pokemon with a little bit of disdain. But yeah, Dan, how would you rate them? In what order?
Skeleturge is my favorite, and then I would say I would pick Meowscarada
Yeah,
and
that's what I
then
figured.
Quaquaval.
Yeah.
But just like you, I mean, no hate towards the three. You have a great selection of the three. It's
Mhm.
just personal preference.
Yeah, it's really down to personality with these. These are way better than last gen's Pokemon. I mean, they have to stop giving us pure type starters. It ruins the viability of the different kinds of fantasies that you can get. Obviously, getting stuck with like a firefighting Cinderace would have sucked. I think Cinderace with because it got Protean in its hidden ability basically.
Yeah.
With Libero, right? It's called Libero this
Yes,
time.
literally.
Yeah, I mean that could have been pure fire. That would have been fine. But like maybe give Rillaboom a typing. Maybe like we've never really gotten like grass rock. I mean we have grass ground already, but what's another
Yeah.
grass ground type? There's not really that many of those. And then Inteleon, we're getting off track already. Inteleon maybe like water ghost or something.
Yeah.
Maybe water dark. We don't have too many of those either. So next, the open world. Darian, do you think that it worked well for Pokemon, the format, just overall?
Yeah, for Pokemon, it was all right. Real quick, your face cam's frozen for me. I don't
Oh,
know if
is it?
that's showing it for
It
everyone.
looks like it's still recording, so we're good. Might
Okay,
just be internet on your end.
it could be. Maybe. Anywho,
Yeah, we should be good.
yeah, for Pokemon, I think it worked pretty well as a first step. I know it was one of our older videos you're talking about how you're not really much of an open world kind of
Yeah,
person.
no,
I
open world
myself,
gives me trauma.
yeah, I am very big in open world games
Mm.
like Legend of Zelda, Ghost of Tsushima, Skyrim, things of that nature. It did, like I said, it did well for Pokemon, but comparing to those other games, it is quite lacking.
Hmm.
Because one of the main tropes of open world is there's a ton of secrets and side quests to go after, and I just don't really feel like the game really did that, especially with side quests. There's not really
There's like none,
much of anything in terms of
literally
side
none.
quests, and there's no really the only kind of secrets we have are like the caves with like Terra Pokemon in them and
Oh yeah,
items.
yeah, that's
So
fair. That's fair. I
we
would
don't really get
say,
much of the open world trope,
yeah.
but like I said, for Pokemon, it's a good step, and hopefully, if they try to do open world in future games,
Hmm.
they can.
All right, we had a little technical difficulty there. So, Darren, as you were saying about if they do open world in future games,
Yeah, if they do it again, I said hopefully they can get more of the traditional open world tropes with more hidden secrets, more side quests, and things of that nature. But
right?
for Pokemon's first jump into open world, I say they did a decent enough job in making the world.
Yeah, especially because they developed it alongside Legends Arceus, so the teams had some things in common, and that's very obvious from playing both games. But I think the main thing that they did well with the open world is that they managed to split the game up into, as we'll get into, three different storylines that took you all across different parts of the region. Then you have things like the ruinous Pokemon having their little go around the world collect things gimmick.
Hmm.
Every now and then they would give you something to
Yeah,
really lean into, but for the most part, yeah, the games didn't really want you to spend an extra like 300 hours doing stuff. Side quests would be nice, especially
yeah,
because as we play the fan made games and they give us like quests, like we're doing Infinite Fusion again, that has quest lines that you can go out and do. Um, and then even in we played Poke Rogue today. There's other little even though it's not like a game, like there's a lot of little trinkets there that that we like to see. Like they added a gotcha machine to the DLC, but you also have the gotcha machine in Poke Rogue, which just dispenses eggs, which is a really cool take. But obviously you don't really need that in an actual Pokemon game because you should have access to all the Pokemon. Um, Now the second question I had here was there enough substance without the features that they used to have, like buildings and random NPC conversations? Uh, I'll quickly say it for my take. There are rarely instances where you talk to an NPC that is memorable. Another playthrough I'm doing, because I'm mentioning a bunch of stuff that's gonna end up on the channel. Um, I've been playing Pokemon Emerald, and there's really only a couple of characters, just a couple of NPCs that I even note, and that's a game I've played hundreds of times. I've played Pokemon Emerald since it came out all the way until now. So there aren't that many NPCs in that game specifically that I think of as like, oh yeah, this is like a memorable NPC. Most of the time they just say stuff related to the games, especially in the earlier games, and a lot of times if you remember it's because it had something goofy that really just makes you think what's going on. I'm even reading like PokeNav entries. I think you were there when I read like a guy was just like randomly singing
yeah.
last week. Uh, so my take is that it's not that big a deal, especially if they change focus and they add more to the game that way. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you because basically the only reason we go and interact with NPCs is to see if they have any items or if like it's part of like the storyline. I for one, like I said, a big open world guy for exploration. I've always liked going into houses by town and seeing, oh, how is the house design different? But like that's just a personal thing I like. It
Hmm.
doesn't really add anything. And like
That's
you
good.
said about with Briny and whatnot, like for NPCs, Briny's the only one I can think of from Emerald
Yeah,
that really
there's
jumps out at you as a
yeah,
very fun and interesting character.
yeah. There's the old lady at the rest stop. There's the trick master that does the trick house challenges. Um, and it's like I'm pointing these things out while I'm doing the playthrough, and I'm enjoying that. But right now, I don't remember many of them. There's only a couple that like are really close to my heart, like the rest lady trying to kidnap you and keep you in her house for all of eternity, or the trick master being the coolest guy to ever be an NPC. But Yeah, no, I think that it's fine to take out a lot of those small conversations because a lot of them, even if you play the game hundreds of times, unless it means something to you, it's not going to mean anything to you. Um, I know that I beat Pokemon Platinum as well over the past 2 weeks, and the only thing being a homophobic kid in the 2000s like everybody else, there's like the two fat dudes at the top of the shop, and they're like bunched up together. It's like, oh, what's wrong with a couple of buff guys standing next to each other? I'm like, yeah, you guys are real weird. Um, but that's just it really just depends on what you remember, what you care about. I think that as an argument, it's kind of hard to say that, oh, they just removed like all these features from the game, but it's like you said, you're really just doing it because you've been told, hey, there's a chance I get something. Gen
Yeah, and
5 especially is probably the only time where it really matters because there's things like the music changing. There's a lot more items in those games. The games are much bigger scale, but like Gens 1, Gens 2, Gens 3, especially not Gen 4. You don't want to walk around in Gen 4. It takes you 80 hours to get from one place to the other. It'll take you 20 years to kill a Blissey. Like, you don't want to waste time talking to every single NPC in a Gen 4 game. Those games are so slow. Um, so yeah, I don't think it was that big a deal.
yeah,
Um,
especially with
mhm.
nowadays, since if they want to take away that part and do what they've done, which is give us much better characters overall that
Oh
we're
yeah,
going to talk
for
about
sure,
later,
for sure.
then I'm fine with it. I really like if we can't interact with these random NPCs in the houses, the main people that we do interact with being so engaging and charming to listen to,
Hmm.
that's perfectly fine. Of course, it'd be nice to have both, but obviously focusing on the main NPCs is a lot more
It's
important than
definitely
just
more important.
random person sitting in a house or
Yeah.
next to a
And it
building.
saves so much time because if like it's crazy to think back to the Game Boy era and just how many lines of text were dedicated to just talking to a character. There's a I played like a lot of ROM hacks where they don't even let you go into buildings or they don't even let you do. It takes a lot of work just to do something that simple. And it's not like they took it out completely. You can pass by people and see what they're thinking. And
Yeah.
that interaction is there and they still wrote all of that. It's just that you can't go into someone's house, break into somebody's house, which again kind of makes the game more realistic and like harass them basically, you know. You can't there's nothing crazy like that. Again, Gen 5 I think is the only time where it really matters. There's a lot of extra stuff that they added in those games. Um
hmm
Next, Darian, do you think there were enough Pokemon in the initial Pokédex?
Yeah, I think we had a very good variety. Not only did we get a lot of good Pokemon that were new, we did have a good amount of Pokemon returning,
Hmm.
including with new versions of themselves, with like Bisharp getting an evolution,
Yeah, that was big for me. Yeah.
and we got a good amount of the fan favorites are here. Of course, we didn't get like
Oh
all the
yeah,
starters
they added
and
like
whatnot,
all the
but we
pseudos
got
in
a
this
lot.
game. I
Yeah,
can't.
all the
I don't think
pseudos
we've
were
ever
around.
had that. Maybe they did that
We've
in Gen
got
8, but like they
you know
really don't do that ever in like
we've
a main
got
game.
like a lot of the cool dragon types. And again, when we talk about with the team planning later, with the Pokemon that they added and then how accessible it is nowadays to
Hmm.
really just change your team at a whim,
Yep.
the selection of Pokemon that they added was pretty good. In
Yep.
fact, you talk about getting the Switch, or I might get it over here and just take a quick look
Yeah, you go.
and
I
maybe
won't be able to do it. So
every
yeah, you go for it because we're
every
we're
now
we're
and
about to
then.
go into it. Um,
You know.
yeah, I'm not really a big Dexit guy, but I know that's a really big plight for the Pokemon community. So back when I wrote this, like when did I write this? Like 2 months ago, perhaps. Yeah, February. I wrote this back February 10th. I started working on this. Um, yeah, we don't really need every single Pokemon in a Pokemon game. That's just unfortunately the truth of the matter. It's fine to have your favorites, and it's fine to miss your favorites, but it's impossible if they took Gyarados out of a Pokemon game, which they did. They did take Gyarados out this game. Gyarados came in the DLC, didn't it? Okay, yeah. I think I'll just take us into the next topic then. Um, Traversing via Koraidon and Miraidon. What do you think? I think we're gonna get into the Titans. I think that it was a really bold move for them to minimize the big box art legendaries. A lot of people were mad about that on release. I'm sure a lot of people are still mad about that now. But honestly, I think it was a great move because it went back to the core idea of Gen 9 being about going out and exploring and searching for a treasure. Having a partner Pokemon that you can constantly interact with in the overworld is a really big step up. And especially in that second playthrough, I'm like, wow, I can't do all these things that we could do now. Especially when the DLC added a lot of flying.
Hmm.
They added like a whole flying mechanic, and you know how many times I just sat there and just flew around the entirety of the region for no reason. Um, Going back onto the new save file and having none of the add-ons, it felt brutal. So yeah, I think it's absolutely key to the game that they had this level of travel. We had that in Legends Arceus as well, but I honestly way better in Scarlet and Violet because there's no like areas that you have to like save roam in. There's nothing wasted. Like you have the Ursa Luna in Legend Arceus that's just there to pick up items for you. That's used in some things, but it's completely useless for traversal. But all of Koraidon Miraidon's features are integral to traversing the region, and it's super fun. Unlocking all of that, going through the DLC, getting the ability to fly, and just doing whatever the heck you want. So what were your thoughts on traversing on the legendaries?
Yeah, I know. Just like you did, whenever I started that first playthrough, and I just did the normal jump, and I'm like, oh, this is rough. But doing and the spell with the way the game wants you to do the Titans, I think the upgrades were laid out well because they start you. I think the first one is you can move faster, and
Yep.
then you can
You sprint,
swim. It was
swim. Yep, swim.
sprint, swim,
Climb was the last
jump
one.
higher. Yeah, jump higher, and then
Glide,
you could glide
and
and
then you can
then
climb.
climb walls. So
Yeah.
I think they laid it out well, and especially I think it's really nice and integral because based on how the story was, how it's just your ride Pokemon, and then at the very end it finally gets the courage to go up in its battle mode. I think that's more meaningful that way,
Oh yeah.
but I never really had too much of a. It was always confusing at first. Like they're just gonna. I know a lot of people are like they're just gonna give us the legendary straight up. Like well,
Yeah.
they gave it
Yeah.
to us, but like they
You
didn't.
literally
You
can't
can't
use it
do
for
that.
battle until post game.
So I know, like you said, people aren't gonna like how the legendaries were just reduced to these
Mhm.
motorcycles, but like you said, I think the way they traverse in the world, I think they did a good job with that.
Mhm. And I think
Definitely.
I think I'll go into the thing I mentioned in our legendaries tier list. I don't even count Koraidon Miraidon as legendary Pokemon. They are paradox forms of Cyclizar, which is a completely useless random Pokemon that does nothing except add more lore to the region. And the fact that they can do Cyclizar things, but on a grander scale, is really cool. But they even have, and Dan, obviously, I'm going to have you help me again with this because I always. We have the two different kinds of games. They even had coat names just like the rest of the Paradox Mons. You had like the Winged King for Koraidon, and
Hmm.
what was Miraidon's?
It was Iron Serpent.
The Iron Serpent for Miraidon. Like these Pokemon are on that level purposefully. They did make those Pokemon legendary status. Um, but I think that overall for the world of Pokemon, they are really just Paradox Mons. Just like how Iron Hands is an absolute monster. Stat and like the stats that go into all of them are really impressive. Even the legendary Pokemon aren't legendary if they became a Paradox Mon too. So I like to put them directly into that, and I'll talk more about that when we get to Terrapagos in the DLC. So
Okay.
Darren, tell me about what our team experience was like for our second playthrough because we decided to do something real goofy.
Yeah, I know. I think was there much thinking into yours, or did you just say on a whim like I'm gonna use
There was
green
probably
Pokemon?
no thinking. I just knew that most of my favorite Pokemon, most Pokemon I could use were green, so it's my
Yeah.
favorite color. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a playthrough where I use my favorite color.
And
So so Darren initially had a completely different idea as what he wanted to do with his team, which is why he had Quaxley. But then I decided I wanted to do a color playthrough, and Darren is very easily manipulated by challenge runs.
for sure.
So he decided to go full purple team, right?
Yeah, yeah, I did
Yeah,
full purple, especially with the character I made. Tekkenada just came out, and
that's true.
Reina is a new character in the game, and I love Reina. She's super fun, super cool character. So with her nickname in Tekken literally being Purple Lightning, I'm like, you know what? A purple team could go great for her.
Especially for Pokemon Violet. So
Yes,
yeah, it
and
worked
it's
out
Pokemon
perfectly.
Violet, so it was destined.
Yep, worked
Honestly.
out perfectly for you. I am colorblind apparently, so I said green, not red. How cool would it have been if we did that though? We could have Amarok and Ceruledge. We could have done like a
Yeah,
whole battle. But yeah, no. So I used all green Pokemon. My team mainly consisted of Meowscarada, Gardevoir, and Gallade. And then just some other. Oh, I had Sudowoodo. I counted Sudowoodo. I remember
Yeah.
I really wanted to do that, because it's a fake tree, and trees are known for being ripe with greenery. And so I made my own sort of rule set as to what counted as green and what didn't. I got to use Kaparaja, which is a Pokemon that neither of us liked. And there's just a lot of, it was a really fun time. There's a lot of fun Pokemon I got to use that I usually wouldn't. There were a lot of things I tried, like I said, Cyclizar, but Cyclizar's moveset doesn't really do anything. It's more supportive than anything. It's a fast support Pokemon that doesn't rely on Prankster. I'm pretty sure is what Cyclizar was meant to be.
Hmm.
Especially as a Dragon type too. It's a really awkward use of Dragon type, similar to Drampa, but Drampa at least was like a strong hitter. So yeah, I mean, not too much to say about it, but what was your core team kind of looking like?
So my team, the first Pokemon I mainly got for it was Toxel, I believe. And
That's
the
right, you did
main,
mention that.
yeah, I got Toxel. I got to use Ceruledge. Ceruledge is really fun.
Hmm.
I had the ghost form, I believe Sensu style
Yeah,
Oricorio.
Oricorio. That's right, you did Oricorio.
So, and
And
then I had,
oh yeah, I had Squawkabilly. I had
yeah,
a green
yes,
Squawkabilly. I remember,
Squawkabilly.
I remember I said, "Oh, I would love to use an Oricorio, but there's no green Oricorio." And then I ran into a horde of green Squawkabilly, so I used
Yeah,
Squawkabilly for a little bit as well.
yeah. Then I had Mienshao, which is DLC, and luckily being able to visit the
You're right.
DLC,
You're
and
right.
the first DLC being a level scaled, I was able to get a Mienfoo.
Hmm.
And then let me see. I'm pulling it up now as well because I have kind of blanked
That
out
is
on
right.
it.
We did get to
But
go into the DLC on this playthrough, which added a lot more to the game, but we did not replay the DLC because they just came out
right,
last year.
yeah,
Not really a big reason to go back and replay all of that, as well as the 70-hour story mode.
yeah.
Um,
So and then I had Gudra
oh yeah,
and Rabska because of the big
yep,
pink
yeah,
and purple orb.
yep.
So and I was mentioning this, I was like, man, for a random team like this, the purple Pokemon, this was one of my favorite teams that I've made in a game
Oh
because
yeah,
I don't think I've ever used any of these Pokemon before. Definitely
exactly.
not Arrow Edge. Oh, I was thinking about using like the Pom Pom Oricorio when I replayed Sun and Moon, but
Hmm.
didn't really get to it. Toxtricity I never used in Sword and Shield because I had Boltoned and I don't really like the type stack.
Yeah,
Sock has always been my go-to fighting type for Gen 5, and then Rabska and Ceruledge, like I said, are the new Pokemon. So yeah, it was definitely one of the more. That's why I like these runs because
yeah.
you go out of your way to get things you might not have ever used before,
I
and you
used
can
my
have a little
favorite
fun.
Pokemon.
Yeah, and like you said, he's like, I can just stop what I'm doing right now and just go get a Gallade and go get a Gardevoir.
Yeah,
Well, Gardevoir is natural, but Gallade because
yeah, with the Dawnstone.
yeah,
Yeah,
so they
and
made it super easy for us.
yeah, and even like when I played through Platinum, I got to like for the first time like genuinely sit down, construct a team, be like I can add Gallade now at this point in the game. In Gen 9, it doesn't matter. Just go. You're gonna find a Dawnstone. You're gonna find everything that you need. Just go out there and catch whatever you want, use whatever you want. And that's what makes these games so great. Is that you don't have to plan around the one or two Dawnstones that are hiding out there somewhere in Sinnoh. You can literally just say, let me go hunt a Dawnstone down
Yeah,
real
especially
quick.
like in the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, you can get this as a bug catching contest reward, a
Disgusting.
Pokeathlon award on certain days, or in the post game. And I'm like,
Yep. Yep. Can't use anything that evolves with a Dawnstone. Um yeah, no, I remember I think I got Lotad from the DLC. Or I got one of my Pokemon. I know I had an
yeah, I know
Applin at one
Lotad
point.
was in the DLC.
I got
Yeah,
I got a couple of mons from the DLC as well. All right, so let's switch gears here. We're gonna talk about the gym leaders, and from here on out, we're strictly talking the Pokemon part of Pokemon. We're gonna go through. We talked a little bit beforehand about the teams that they had. We might talk a little bit more about that if we don't remember, but we're gonna try and just briefly overview and talk about our opinions on the character and teams for all of the gym leaders. The first one is the Cortondo gym. Gym leader is Katie. She uses the bug type. And before we get further, let's talk about the aces because none of the aces in this game, none of the gym leaders ace Pokemon were the same original type as the type that they represented. There we go.
right.
That was a hard sentence to get out. So Katie's ace is a Teddy Ursa, and the way that they circumvent this and sort of bring it all back to like that grounded. Um, this is a bug gym. Her ace is the bug type. They made it so that all of the trainers, all the gym leaders, would terrestrialize their Pokemon into the same type. So Teddiursa became a bug type, and all the other gym leaders were allowed to use unique Pokemon that don't fit at all in the normal team, but then just Terra them in order to give them that consistency. So let's talk about Katie. You're the bug trainer. What do you think about her?
As a first team, I liked her team. The last time we had a gym leader for Bugby, the first member was Viola, I believe,
Yeah,
in Pokemon X and
and X and
Y,
Y.
and she just had Surskit and Vivillon. So she had the regional bug and then one other random one.
Yep.
Um, I like the take on the Teddiursa, especially with the Fury Cutter ramping up in power each turn. So if you don't get it knocked out quick, it's gonna eventually just snowball
Mm-hmm.
and wipe you out,
There's a
basically.
lot of that in this game.
Nimble's a good choice
Yeah,
for Bug. It could have been maybe Rellor, but overall I think Nimble fits more. And then it was
Tarantula.
Tarantula, which is another just I love Tarantula. I love Spide Up. So
Mm-hmm.
as a first gen bug team, it was solid choices all around.
Yep.
And the thing is, if she didn't use the Terrestrialized Teddiursa, it probably would have just been what Tarantula, Nimble, and
Spite
Rellor.
Ops or yeah. What level does it evolve into Spite Ops?
I think it's like level 20.
Yeah,
It's not too
it's
high.
way too high for a first gym,
That's not
but
that's not bad for a
shit.
first evolution, but first
Yeah,
gem, it
maybe like
wasn't
a
gonna
Beedrill
happen.
Butterfree. Were those were Caterpie and Weedle aren't even in this game.
Yeah, we had
That's
Vivillon. That was the only early bug that we had.
Vivillon. Yeah, then yeah. So that's wow. I'm just thinking about how they're not in the game. Scolopede's not in the game, right? I've never seen
I
a
don't.
Scolipede.
I don't believe
There's
so.
so many Pokemon I can't wait to see in Gen 10 just randomly show up. Because we have Butterfree in yeah, we definitely have Butterfree in Gen 8.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
because of Animax
the
Butterfree
said
was a good
Gmax
one.
was Beedrill wasn't in the game though, right?
No, I don't think so.
That's great. We've gone
And
years
two
without
gens.
Beedrill. I can't wait to get Beedrill back.
Hey, with Legends ZA and Megas coming back, I'm assuming they'll bring back each Pokemon that had a Mega.
I
So
want to see Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill in the overworld just doing their thing. So yeah, another thing that we talked about was how gym leaders Pokemon only had 2 to 3 moves up until Grisha's Ace.
mhm.
Grisha's Ace, sorry. And the thing about that, there's a couple of reasons why that's a good change. The first is that really all Pokemon needs is stab. Um, when you're in a playthrough, you're not sending out a Pokemon just because it on the off chance that it has coverage. If you have a fire type Pokemon, you are sending it in to use a fire type move. There's all kinds of examples where you build a good moveset around what your Pokemon's good at, but especially in your normal playthroughs, none of that really matters. You can have stealth rocks, you can have spikes, toxic spikes. None of that's gonna be a factor in whether or not you win the battle because you're probably gonna win the battle already, anyways. Considering the fact that you get to you have EVs going up on your Pokemon, you can control what level your Pokemon are, so they could be higher level, they could be lower level, and you can switch freely with between Pokemon even unless you intentionally go from switch to set mode. So the difficulty of Pokemon I don't think is really gated by the move sets that the trainers use. The best part about the trainers not having random moves is that it makes the fights a lot more close. If Teddiursa's only options are to Fury Cutter you or use what was its other move like Scratch something like that
Maybe Fury Swipes.
or I was thinking
You
Fury
want
Swipes. If it only has those 2 options, then what's the point in giving it a third if all it needs to do is hit you and knock out your Pokemon? Other gym leaders definitely are gonna have cooler gimmicks to what their teams can do, but yeah, I think that's the only other thing that was important for us to mention. So the second gym leader is
yeah.
the Artisan Gym with Brassius. Brassius is a big anime character, and his whole thing is that he's trying to make his Pokemon into an art form. He's trying to have his art reflect his relationship with Pokemon in certain ways. And his ace, Sudowoodo, beast, absolute
Yeah. Mhm.
cool concept. The truly Wudo, he calls it, where it goes from a rock type to a grass type, and Sudowoodo, you know, it gets to be the thing it always wanted to be. It's like giving Bagon wings. It's a moment to truly revel in, and yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites. for that reason. Unfortunately, it doesn't really reflect well on the battle because it only gets access to Trailblaze, which is a brand new move. But it can turn this like slow, bulkier Pokemon that can potentially hit heavy into a fast Pokemon with good type coverage between like the grass and rock types. So Darien again, he had Petalil and Smoliv. Petalil has Sleep Powder, Mega Drain. Smoliv literally does nothing as Tackle and Razor Leaf. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the guy Brassius and his team?
Yeah, I love Brassius. He's a good character, and like you said, Sudowoodo is probably a perfect Pokemon to choose. If I'm not mistaken, it also for his Rock Stab. No, I think it was Rock Throw. I don't know if it had Rock
Yep,
Tomb.
we had Rockthor.
Yeah, I don't know if it had Rock Tomb for even more speed control with Trailblaze, and then Rock Tomb would
That
slow you
would be
down.
a really good addition for sure.
Yeah, but like you said, it's Sudowoodo being the grass type. It's perfect for him, and Smoliv, like you said, is kind of just there. And but like at levels that early, the only thing you could really do other than give it something useless is be like an egg move, and that's never really been a huge thing in
Yeah,
Pokemon.
yeah, that's not
Especially like I
something
said,
to
we're
do
talking about
often.
with Katie. Like, what are you gonna do? Give her close combat on her Teddy or so
On our,
level 10?
yeah,
Like,
our level 10 today or something. Yeah,
so, but yeah, but his team is great. Like I said, that Sudowoodo is the star of the show.
yeah,
Very much like it.
and we've got a lot of reasons to love him because he shows up in the anime as well. The third gym, Iono's gym. She is from Levencia, which is a town I always remember. Her team consists of Watro, Bellybolt, Luxio, Miss Magius. We talked about it. All of her three electric types have Spark. Bellybolt has Water Gun for a little bit of coverage, and its ability is Electromorphosis, which is a choice because its other option was Static. They could have given it either. Luxio has Intimidate, so once it comes out, it'll slow you down quite a bit. And Iono's main gimmick is Miss Magius with Confuse Ray Hex combo. Not only
Ugh.
do all three of her Pokemon, I'm pretty sure Spark has a chance to Static, right?
Yeah, it does have paralysis chance.
Yeah, it
Yep.
does. So yeah, because not every move does. So not only does she have the chance to whittle you down with her three electric types, but then Miss Magius comes in and starts hitting you with Charge Beam, getting that boost, and then also Confuse Ray Hex combo. It's a really tough fight, and it's actually really fun for that point in the game, especially after the first two gym leaders really had a Pokemon that was really just filler, just for numbers. Uh, I mean, there's nothing that we could say about Iona that you guys don't already know. She is by far one of the most represented NPCs in this game. With her having her own live stream, her in the anime being more recurring than any other gym leaders so far. Darren, give me your thoughts on Iona and her team.
Yeah, for me, this was kind of a decent difficulty spike, honestly, compared to the last two. This one's really in your face. The setup is really good, especially Terra Electric, Miss Magius, like you said, with the Hex Confuser combo. Electric type with Levitate, giving it no weakness. And for that level, very pretty tanky Pokemon. There's not really much my Pokemon in my first or second playthrough could do that would do like a major amount of burst damage just straight up. It was always like a battle to see, like a true battle to see who can outlast the other. And
Mm-hmm.
there are times where she got me because, like
Oh
I
yeah.
said, she's not. Especially if the Luxio can intimidate you and you decide to
Mm-hmm.
stay in. That's even another form to make the Miss Magus even takier. So
Yep.
she's a tough gym leader.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the hardest in the game if
Yep.
we're looking at it
Oh yeah, for sure.
together
Because
combined.
on top of the chance of paralysis, she also will just straight up confuse Ryu. And she has levitate. So
Yes.
it becomes an electric type that's also immune to ground, which is something that we've talked about before the games came out. Something that we've definitely talked about together a lot. It's just like the potential of Terra is beyond anything that we've seen in the franchise, and it's a shame that they're definitely not going to bring it back after this because this is probably what the most interesting of the gimmicks since Megas. We've had a total of four. There's this one and Megas are probably the only two that really flowed, especially for
Yeah.
competitive.
Now that you mentioned that, I was thinking, I was like, if they don't bring that back ever, what's gonna happen with mons like Terapagos or Ogerpon? Like their
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing
that's
is
true.
Terastallization.
We probably just
And
won't
if we
see
don't
them.
get Ogerpon again, I'm gonna be
We're
upset.
not going to see Orgrimmon again. No, and I mean
Yep,
that's fine. That's fine.
yep. That's
That's a good reason to boot up
so-
a playthrough
yeah,
of Scarlet and Violet.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure that we'll see them and you'll be able to bring them.
Yeah, there'll be
And
some. They might rework them. They might just make it a held item for Ogerpon. Who knows?
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
but then you can't. It's already a hold on, but I don't know.
Yeah, Terrapagos is
They'll work.
Terrapagos is gonna be completely useless after this
They'll work
generation,
their
and
magic,
I'm alright with
sure.
that. All right, so next we have Kofu, gym leader of the Kaskarafa gym, and we decided he has the worst team.
Yeah, it's just
So Darian, in order to let you cook, he has a Veluza with Aqua Cutter, Pluck, and Slash, a Wug trio with Mud Slap, Water Pulse, and Headbutt. So go ahead and cook those real quick.
yeah. I mean, as a Veluza user myself, I know its level moveset was very bad, but for the Veluza, that's probably the best you could do. We did look at the movesets for the Wogue Trio not to have Aqua Jet.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty inexcusable. That's
Mm-hmm.
like an automatic for any physical water type. And
Yeah,
then what was it?
especially
Crabominable is the ace, and then did he
yep.
have another one?
Crabominable has Crab Hammer, which is a water move, Rock Smash, which is his only fighting move, and then Slam. So no ice, even though it gets Ice Punch on evolution. They could have easily gotten rid of Slam for it, and then Rock Smash is good. It becomes Terra Water. Um, so it gets the stab with Crab Hammer, so it's not a complete loss. It gives itself its own little theme there, making it more of a water type, but it's definitely lacking in coverage when Rock Smash is its only other stab move.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
Rock Smash into Crab Hammer is probably a KO with a defense drop, so
Yeah,
we
and
can't we
Crab
can't
Hammer is
hate on him too much.
not low space power, and Crabominable does have high attack, so
Hmm. Yeah, but that's about it. He's just a heavy hitter, but his Book Trio doesn't have the right stat line for a Water Pulse moveset. And Veluza's missing Psychic Stab, which it doesn't get, unfortunately, at that level. So we can give that a pass. All right, time for the GOAT. The Medali gym leader, Larry. Uh, Larry is the first gym leader in my life as an adult that has actually just straight up beaten me on the first attempt, like not even close. I made the mistake of paralyzing or yeah, probably paralyzing his Staraptor, and Facade just absolutely did way too much damage to my team at that point. His ace is level 36, so you're all about to the level where your starter fully evolves, and if you haven't done it yet, then you probably should before facing him. His Komala has Yawn, Sucker Punch, and Slam. The Dunsparce has Hyper Drill, which is its signature normal move, I think.
yes.
Drill Run, which is some ground coverage for some reason, and then Glare, which will paralyze you. Um, yeah, Darren, just go ahead because I mean my main thing is just that this team is really strong. It gets you in a lot of ways that you're not ready for with Sucker Punch, Glare, Hyper Drill, and Facade. And Staraptor being already a normal type means it gets double normal stab. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Good team, like you said earlier when it came to like not needing a whole bunch of moves. This one's perfect. What do you say? Has Facade and Aerial Ace?
Mm-hmm.
That's really all you need
It's
unless
literally
you
all you
want to
need.
slap Roost on it for recovery, but
Yeah, but
and then again they
that's just
nerfed
being
Roost to 5
rude.
PP as well, so you
Yeah.
only have 5
Imagine
points. So
having to stall a Facade Staraptor.
yeah, it's not gonna end well for you.
Oh my lord.
But yeah, he had and we haven't talked about too much for each character, but their gym puzzles as a whole
Oh
is
yeah,
pretty interesting. Going
that's fun.
around, getting the secret menu item,
I just look it up
and
on Survey every time.
yeah.
Every time.
But yeah, he's a good gym leader. He's become a quick fan favorite because he's just literally just some normal guy
He's just some
who
businessman.
uses normal type
He's
Pokemon.
just us
So
for real, working his 9 to 5, and then having to do overtime constantly because his boss is mean. Um, but yeah, Larry is a godsend of a character, godsend of a gym leader. Um, a normal gym is one that we only get every now and then. It's always a strong gym because normal type's really hard to really play around. It doesn't necessarily have strengths and weaknesses. It's just there for neutral damage. So a lot of Pokemon get away with having a lot more in terms of power. Norman, Whitney, both extremely good. What's her name? Lenora from Gen 5.
yes, she's also really
Also
nice.
really good. Sharon might be the hardest first gym in all of
Yeah,
Pokemon because of the fact he works up his Pokemon and starts hitting you as hard as possible with normal stab. So yeah, normal type gym leaders are really cool. Next we have Rhyme. The gym leader that every black person will know for the rest of the time because she's a black woman that raps. Also the ghost type. I love her personality. She's one to really lash out at you at a moment's notice, and she's also composed enough to master the art of rap. Her rhymes are always insane. And speaking of NPCs that will always remember, the darn cashier that just got absolutely
Dude,
cooked
that
alive.
poor child.
Oh my lord! And Charlie from YouTube. What was MC Sledge? There we go.
Yeah.
I had to remember. So yeah, very memorable gym encounter for sure. And her team consists. Her team's kind of rough as well. She has Banette, Mimikyu, Houndstone, and Toxicity. Banette's thing, it's got Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak, so it's perma prio, or it uses Icy Winds to just lower your team's overall speed. Mimikyu has Light Screen, Shadow Sneak, and Slash, no Fairy Stab, and then Houndstone gets play rough, Crunch, and Phantom Force. And Phantom Force being its only like actual stat move is kind of awkward as a 2-turn hit, but it's really strong, especially if if you accidentally set up Sand. And then Toxicity has Discharge, Hex on the off chance that you get paralyzed, and Hyper Voice with the Terra Ghost type. So it's also a double battle.
Yes, double battle gym.
So Dan, you have any thoughts on this other than what we spoke about earlier?
Yeah. The only fun fact I'd like to add is you talking about accidentally setting up sand, but with every battle taking place in the open world, any weather can really strike, which is I think is also kind of interesting about the open world that I did mention earlier. So I was watching a playthrough. It was like can fire. It was like a fire mono run,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing the artisan gym, and he was set up and he was ready, and then it just started raining, and he's like, "Well, there goes my whole setup.
That's
I'm kind of screwed now."
crazy.
So yeah, but yeah, she had a fun. Like I said, it was a little bit of a blunder with the Mimikyu and the play rough going on, the Houndstone, which was
Mm-hmm.
a little odd, but like you said, as a character, she's real fun. I know we'll get to her later. She has a sister. She
Mm-hmm.
is the math teacher.
Math gym leader, yeah.
Math, but and she uses rock type, so it's
Yep.
probably why she's not a gym leader because rock sucks. It's a type,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, she's a good character. Like you said, the poor kid getting absolutely just rinsed,
Lambasted. Yep.
shelled. But yeah, good gym leader. And then
The only other thing I'll say in her favor that I just thought of, it's because BBQ and Banette are supposed to be her setup support mons, and Houndstone Toxicity are the
yeah,
carries. But you don't notice. You really don't notice.
and
You're
we
just trying
can't
to
forget
one two.
about the little dancing Griever on the speakers that was
Oh
during
yeah,
that
that's
battle.
right. Yep.
That also with the pumping up the crowd, giving different stat boosts and
Yep.
whatnot.
It
It
they
was a
went
fun
all
little
out
gem.
making that a very unique gym, and I think they did a great job of lining out and taking the concept of music once again, and really applying it to Pokemon. So how Roxy and slightly Piers they did nothing with, but I think this is them redeeming Piers, honestly,
Yeah.
because Piers' whole thing was just there was no sound, and you're just standing there watching a grown man dance on stage. All right, so next is the Alfornada Gym, featuring Tulip, who obviously is my favorite of them all because she's a psychic type trainer with a Gardevoir. Um, except for the Fat Lady's my favorite, obviously. So she has Fergaraf, which is the new evolution of Girafarig that nobody will ever remember past Gen 9. It has Crunch, Zen Headbutt, and Reflect, so no normal stab. Gardevoir, perfect. Mwah. Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, and Energy Ball, just in case you need it. Espathra has Psychic Quick Attack, which is pretty nice little bit of extra damage, and Shadow Ball, and then her ace is a Terra Psychic Florges with Psychic Moonblast and Petal Blizzard. Another pretty tough fight, if I do say
Yeah.
so. Darren, give me your thoughts. She is I think a cosmetologist or
Yeah,
something.
or she's some kind of person. She's on the phone before talking to somebody about her business of some sort.
Right.
I love where the gym takes place on top of the like the it's not like a lighthouse. It's just on
It's like a
top of the
mural.
gym
Yeah.
and it overlooks the entire region from where you're looking, so it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, overall good team. The Gardevoir, I don't really know what Energy Ball would be for. It's got Psychic for the poison. Energy Ball, I guess, is just there to have some kind of special coverage, which it's a base 90 grass type move, so
Mm-hmm.
anything neutral, it'll still hurt.
I think it's a
And
death drop move.
yeah, I think it can as well.
So
Same
you
with
can,
Shadow Ball. And
yeah, and obviously if you're like me and using Quaquaval, you're gonna regret
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and Farigiraf. I think it might be a bit more memorable. Maybe not to us too much, but in the VC crowd, they love it for their Trick Room teams. But
Mm-hmm.
in a few years down the line, we'll probably be like, oh yeah, Farigiraf. Now
For
you
Giraffe.
exist.
Yep.
But solid team
They
overall.
just shoved Giraffing in a game just so you can remember that it has an evolution. Uh,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I mean, Floor just honestly isn't the best part of this team, but I'm okay with that. Um, yeah, it's really like Farigiraf and Espathra are really heavy hitters here, and then Gardevoir obviously. If you're not one shotting gym leaders, then you're actually gonna see them play out the way that they battle. And I love her. She has like that calm air about her, almost like a low blood pressure type, but she's really calm, collected. She does these things called like ESP exercises that let you express your emotions, and so she's probably one of the most mature gym leaders that we've had, especially for psychic type, because I know like Sabrina being the archetypical psychic type, all these years later having the exact opposite, someone who's fully in control of her emotions, etc., etc. Like that, I think that's pretty cool. And then finally, finally, we're wrapping up the gym leader section. The Glaciado gym leader Grosha and his ice team. His ice team gets an A plus easy. Blizzard, Bug Buzz, Tailwind on Frostmoth. Beartic with Aqua Jet, nutty coverage. Icicle Crash, strongest ice type move, and Earthquake, just in case you're still alive. So Titan has Ice Spinner, Liquidation, and Ice Shard, and then his ace is on Altaria, Terra Ice with 4 moves. Ice Beam, Dragon Pulse, Moonblast, and Hurricane. So it's got both stabs, it's got a fairy type move, and it's got the Ice Beam for the Terra Ice. Now, the other thing I'll say is that when Titan was revealed, we thought Titan would be his ace Pokemon, similar to how we thought Bellibolt would be Iono's ace Pokemon. And so Altaria being at the end was definitely a massive surprise. And Altaria, ever since it debuted in Gen 3, Winona is an absolute beast with that dragon dancing, earthquaking Altaria. Altaria's Pokemon I'll always respect, so I'm pretty cool with that being his ace. It also kind of fits the ice type in terms of color scheme. So, Darren, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Grosha is other than Larry, my favorite gym leader.
Okay.
I really like Grosha, the snowboarding gimmick, and has a
Mm-hmm.
really solid team. He's got Frostmoth, which is one of my favorite bug types, and just overall perfect coverage on everything. Water and ground coverage for any fire types. Flying on the Altaria for any fighting types. So he really covers all the bases, and it's perfect for like a final gym leader,
Mm-hmm.
bringing all the power forward. He does a great job at it, and
Oh yeah, definitely a decent team. The only thing is that there's no snow. I don't think.
mm, I don't believe.
His Beartic does have Snow Cloak, so
Yeah,
unfortunately, not getting much use out of that. So those are our thoughts on the gym leaders. Honestly, great gen. All of them are memorable because again they give characters realistic interactions. Katie's a baker. Brassius is a struggling artist that's finally coming to his own. Iona's a live streamer. Kofu, what is Kofu? Like a
he's
chef?
a restaurant owner. I believe he works at a restaurant.
Yeah. Larry's a businessman. Rhyme is a musician, a rapper. Tulip is a cosmetologist of some sort. She has ads in Lavencia, and then Grusha's a professional snowboarder. So they're doing great as always, with just giving them some kind of trope to lean into their character, and how they play out those small interactions when you battle them, and if you see them elsewhere in the region or if you hear about them elsewhere, they just build up the lore pretty well. I also have not done the post game part that much. I've done Tulip's battle and her little thing, but in the DLC we get to see some gym leader rematches and stuff, which is really fun.
Yeah, and I love when you can bring him to the hall and like the little battle hall, and with other people, you can bring more than one gym leader, and they'll
Mm.
have special interactions. I
Yep,
love I love those little details, and even to
that's
see
probably the
get more
best
into
way to
their
do post
personal
game.
lives.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely the
it's
best way to do
always a
post
good
game.
time.
All right, so next absolute group of characters that we have to talk about are all the Team Star admins and Penny.
Yes.
All right, so I'm not looking forward to this. All right, so we're gonna start with Giacomo. Giacomo. Uh, Giacomo is in charge of this is the Seguin squad. I forget what he brought to the team. Oh, so he used to be the school's student council president, and he in during his reign he ended up just making everyone miserable with rules, and so nobody liked him, obviously. And so when he joined Team Star and they appreciated what he was good at, they wanted him to then go back and design the rules that they will live by as Team Star. He also makes music, and he's made the Team Star theme in game, which is really cool. He uses a poniard and one of the Starmobiles. This Starmobile has Wicked Torque, which is just a dark type move, and its ability is Intimidate. So Darren, what are your thoughts on Giacomo?
I like him. He's one of my more favorite guys. He's kind of like in the middle. He designed probably one of the greatest themes in Pokemon
Yeah,
because
Team Star team goes hard.
especially not only the Starmobile thing. If he did like everything for Team Star, he's probably like the greatest music producer in like the entire Pokemon universe because the
True.
Grunt theme, the Starmobile theme, Penny's theme, they're all just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do like his team. It was a bit tough. I think I whited out my first playthrough because I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's just a
y'all,
little bit funny.
all of them. To every
Those
single one of them.
those Starmobiles are tough.
Those fights, you might as well have to do them more than once every time you do them. We'll get a little bit into it, but if you've played the games, you already know these things are absolute monsters. And you know what the funniest part is? It has a base. This might be the weakest one. It has like base 36 attack and 35 special attack, but it's
Yeah, but
still
it's
a Starmobile. All right. So Mella's whole thing was that she was bullied, I think, because of her appearances.
I believe.
It was both her and Eri to an extent, because for different reasons. But when you do see her in the DLC, she looks completely different.
Yeah, I
She's
didn't even recognize her. I remember doing that quest like find Mel in the courtyard, and I'm just walking. I'm like,
just like a girl
where
with
is
red
she? And then
hair, and then
she's
you
in the
look at
corner. I'm
her.
like, oh my gosh. So yeah, she
Yeah.
goes under a complete transformation in
Yeah,
that
and so
first
she
one.
she toughens herself up in Team Star, and she's in charge of training Team Star members. She trained all of the Char cadets that would eventually help them figure out their whole plan with their revenge, but that did inevitably shift into using Reverum for the Starmobiles, and I'm pretty sure the Char cadets were there just to give it power. She uses a Torkoal with Drought, obviously, and her Reverum has Speed Boost with Blazing Torque and Overheat. Yeah. Yeah. They all have completely different movesets. This one has base 49 attack, so again, like a lot
Okay, getting
stronger.
up there a little bit.
So what are your thoughts on Mela?
I like Mela. She's cool. I don't know. I love how you mentioned the Charcadex and I instantly remembered it was named Charlos, which is
Yeah,
just
Charlos. Yep.
hilarious of a name. Another tough battle set up the sun
Yep.
for her Pokemon. Even though Rain completely trivializes her, you may not have that in
But
your
that's
playthrough.
yeah, and that's exactly that's the
And I've
kind of counterpoint I'm sure a lot of people went to after they got wiped by her.
yeah, but overall she's a decent character. I don't really care for a whole bunch, but she's a good character. She's not my least favorite.
Yeah, I think she does get the least out of them in terms of like
Yeah,
the actual game itself, because she has a very imposing figure. She's the one that they put out front as like the first like big admin in the
yeah.
trailers. I think
She's
they
definitely very intense.
she's
She's
the
intense.
looker of the group for sure. She's the one that goes up front and starts talking shit. That's another thing. She talks a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Um so next is probably my favorite. I You know me, I'm all about that androgyny. So we'll get to Ari in a bit, but Atticus is a really fun character. He speaks in that typical like chuny way where he gets into a character and he sticks to that character. He's very loving. He's very very kind. But he's the poison type, which as we've talked about in the past with Clara, the poison type trainer
Hmm.
in the Gen 8 DLC. It's really fun seeing the contrast that they can put on with poison types. He is a very nice guy. He even says, "Pray forgive my sudden entry, tis I Atticus," when he shows up. Like he's a sweet guy. He designed all the clothes for the Team Star admins, and his team consists of Stun Tank, Muck, a normal Reverum, and then his Starmobile. So, Stun Tank has Sucker Punch, Toxic Venoshock, Muck, Sludge Wave. Doesn't even need a second move, but it has Mud Slap too. Having a base Reverum is also really interesting because it is a poison type. And then he has Noxus Torque, Flame Charge, Smog, and Spin Out. I'm not going to mention all the moves, but
Yeah.
I think it's important for that one. So what are your thoughts on Atticus?
Hands down, my favorite member of Team
Oh yeah,
Star.
he's goated.
Because not only does he have poison types, which are awesome, he has the super cool ninja aesthetic, which is definitely one of my favorite sub trainer types in Pokemon.
He has an actual
Ninja Boys
I forgot
from
to
Gen
mention.
3.
Yeah, he has an actual friend at the school still.
He's like an apprentice. He loves to follow around Atticus, and he's very cool with him. So, yeah, and whether it be like I said, the Ninja Boys from Gen 3, or our boy, God, what's his name from Legends Arcade, Benny. But I love how he looks. He's got a great design. He speaks in that, like you said, that old, more Shakespearean old English kind of thing. A lot of tis and thou and art.
Yeah. Which would be like a more traditional Japanese dialect in the original. So yeah, I love Atticus. Atticus is really cool, and he's really handsome too. When you take that mask off.
In the DLC, he's the one that sells you all the special clothing items from
That's
past
right,
games.
because he he makes clothes.
Yes.
All right, so now we have Ortega, the youngest member. Oh, I forgot what Atticus was bullied for.
It might just be the way he talks and acts. That's what I would
you don't need more. Yeah, you don't really need more than that.
Because
if he's always been like that, then yeah, that's probably why. Ortega, he's a rich kid. He got bullied for being a rich kid, probably. Don't ask me to nail them all. This is my favorite part of the game, but I also need to I also probably could have looked into it, but this part of recording is already almost an hour, so we're in deep here. So his team consists of Azumarill, Wigglytuff, and Dachshund. And then his Reverum has Misty Surge as its ability with Magical Torque. Misty Surge is gonna put up a whole terrain, pretty awesome. But yeah, Ortega also talks a lot of smack. He's very averse to showing his kinder side, and that's probably because of him being young and bullied. But what the heck was he in charge of? What was his? I'm genuinely gonna have to look this up.
Dadgum, probably like finances.
Probably finances.
Let's see what we got here.
Oh, that's right. He built the Starmobiles. He's a mechanic.
Oh, okay.
Which you never would guess. You never would.
Doesn't
guess
really give off the vibe of a mechanic. Yeah,
not at all. But yeah, so the Starmobiles are his creation. It kind of makes sense now because they're they look like they were made by a fairy type trainer. I'll say that much. And he is a fairy type trainer, which obviously I love that about him. But the main thing that I really like about Ortega is just the fact that he tries to, like, even in the DLC, he tries to make fun of you still. And the others have to be like, hey, this is our friend. You don't have to be like that with him.
He's like, why are you here? What's the real reason you're here?
He's definitely the most averse to make playing nice, which again contrasts fairy type trainer. Love that stuff. Got any thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's fine. The rich kid trope, I feel, is better for like a villain character, and I know they were kind of made to be villains, but then you look into it, and they're not really. But I've always preferred the standard rich kid villains like Malfoy or something like that.
He's exactly like that. He plays it up more than any other team member because he just naturally is.
Very interesting that he has the engineering and architect.
One of them built it. But it's just whenever I think of Ortega, I don't think it's him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is great. It's great because then you could just be impressed. It's like, damn, this little kid built literal weapons of mass destruction. And of course would help for his friends. Finally, my favorite, Aerie, big woman. Let me look left, make sure Sean's not coming. His favorite type of woman. She has Toxicroak, Passimian, Lucario, Annihilate, and her Starmobile has Stamina. So every time you hit it with a physical move, it just shakes it off. Combat Torque, high horsepower, spin out, and even shift gear. Talk about fights you have to do more than once.
Yeah, she's was tough. Hers was tough. She has a lot
Aries'
of good Pokemon
role,
before it too.
yeah. So if Mela's role was to train up the Team Star Grunts, Aries' role is to be the vanguard, the vagabond, and just walk up front. And she is the strongest trainer out of all of them. I think it's her and Giacomo that are the like the seniors.
Hmm.
And she puts on like this whole like basically wrestling princess facade. Um, and she will endure what she has to for her friends. And when you see her in the DLC, the only reason you know it's her is because she's tall as shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Um,
another glow up.
yeah, it's great.
Mhm.
And again, she looks like a nice girl. She just happens to be big. And she's just amazing. I absolutely love those kinds of archetypes. Obviously, Darian, what are your thoughts on Eri and the fact
Y-
that you have to fight her multiple times as if she's the Elite Four champion?
Yeah, I really like Eri. Like I said, she has a really strong team. I think it's like what Passimian. She
Yep,
has Annihilate, Lucario.
yep.
Like you said, I mean, it's really strong. Last person, she's like in the low 60s for her
She's
levels.
the high. She's like basically the highest level trainer in the
Yeah,
main game.
yeah. And then, like you said, in the DLC, she gets a whole nother character. I love. She's just the protector of the group. You know, anyone tries to step up to her friends in Team Star, she's gonna let them
Mhm.
know that she don't appreciate that. So, and I always like that kind of attitude for a character. So, Aerie is definitely, like I said, definitely. If it wasn't for Atticus, he'd probably be my favorite.
Mhm. And let's quickly talk about Clavel. Give me your thoughts on his way of interacting with Team Star and the conclusions that he came to.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like Clive at all. I think Clive's a goofball, and I just hate. He's like, oh, hey, it's me, Clive. Like, you know, had the "How you doing, fellow kids" meme. Like, it's
Hmm.
just that. Um, he does actually do some decent work behind the scenes to
Oh yeah,
help you out.
for
This is
sure.
always a which is definitely a plus, but the
Mhm.
whole Clive gimmick,
It's
I
funny.
think,
It's
is quite
so
silly.
funny.
It's
I
silly,
love
but
it.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
he ends up taking the fall for Cassiopeia in the end, and he ends up getting in trouble for it too.
yeah.
Time comes out, and she's like, what the fuck are you
What
doing?"
are you battling children down here in the middle of the night? You can't be
you
doing
are
that.
you are a disgrace. He has interactions with the previous headmaster, and there's a lot of feeling with the Team Star arc that I would love to get into, but we have a lot of game to cover even in this part. But the messaging behind Team Star as an evil team being pushed to a limit, they have strong school shooter vibes, which is hilarious from a Japanese video game. Um, and the fact that I wrote down some stuff. The main thing is they actually succeeded. No other evil team has ever succeeded in their plans all the way. But they managed to take the Starmobiles, call all the bullies up, and scare the living crap out of them to the point where they
Yep.
left the school. And they all of Team Star's members, all the grunts, are probably victims of bullying or outcasts in some way. And they just like how people love Team Skull for that same dynamic, Team Star is super understandable why they do the things that they do. And I think that's the most important thing. Because Team Galactic, um, Team Plasma, wackos. They're whack. They're just a bunch
Yeah.
of crazy people.
They
They
just want to take over. Almost every kid can relate with getting picked on and bullied in school.
oh
So
for sure.
it's just extremely relatable.
Or not fitting in.
Or an
And the fact that
outcast. Yeah.
they did it in a completely different way with this game is amazing. Because Guzma's whole thing was that he was a kid that just wasn't really that good. You know, he wasn't really that talented. He couldn't really make his dream come true, and in the culture that he was in, he sort of hardened his heart to that stuff, and then he has a redemption arc down the road. But Team Star doesn't necessarily have a redemption arc. They did something irredeemable, and it's not until the post game and Clavel taking the interest in them that really brought them back. And they none of them really thought that they would be able to come back from the point that they were in. And it's to the point where Penny sets up this entire operation on her own. And it's only then that Clavel gets involved and realizes what's going on. So they have easily my favorite storyline in all of Pokemon. It's something that I don't necessarily relate to being bullied. I had back and forths with friends growing up, but I was never beaten up and stuff in school.
Yeah.
Most people aren't nowadays. But it's just the fact that they could have easily have toned this down, but every single boss fight is followed by a flashback, followed by character interaction, and they don't really explain themselves to you too much. It depends on who you're talking to. Like Ortega doesn't tell you too much. Giacomo tells you a lot. Mela just sort of understands. I lost. Here you go. Good job. And Ari especially trying her damnedest to beat you. It's wonderful. I absolutely love it. We'll conclude with that, and we'll get into Penny here in a second. We have to also talk about the Titans real quick.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the Titan Pokemon are Pokemon that eat the Herba Mystica that Arvin are after, and they're basically boss fights for you to unlock access to them, so that Arvin can make some really cool sandwiches. And that's it. There's nothing else involved with that storyline. So you got Cloth, you've got Bombardier, you have Orthoworm. Depending on what version of the game, Great Tusk or Iron Treads, and then you have Dondozo and Tatsugiri. The thing I'll say is it's great that they used all new Pokemon for this. They didn't use like a Gyarados. Haha, Gyarados. They they went out of their way to introduce you to a lot of new Pokemon with this as well. But overall, these are just like little raid battles that you do with Arvin. Darren, what are your thoughts on the Herba Mystica Titan fights?
Yeah, I like them. The first few start out pretty basic, and then you get to like the Great Tusk Iron Treads one, and it kind of ramps up. And especially with the last one with Dondozo Tatsugiri, you get to fight the Dondozo, and he's like, "Oh,
It's actually
fight the
Tatsugiri.
actual yeah,
Yeah.
Tatsugiri, who's the real false dragon because it's a dragon type Pokemon." That's what I would think. And
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, and then when we talk about Arvin, we'll get into more into why. But the Titan fights themselves as a whole, I find them pretty interesting. I like the little thing where they eat the Mystica and get a little bit of a nice power boost,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when Arvin will join you. But overall, like I said, we'll talk about Arvin's quest as to why. But the Titan fights in general, nothing too crazy, nothing too like crazy overwhelming. But it was a nice little detour, a nice change of pace compared to normal Pokemon formula.
Oh yeah, and this is how you unlocked all of the forms for Koridon Miradon, which is yeah. I mean, it's not my favorite part of the game. For a lot of people, it's the story behind it that really matters more than the actual fights. On a first playthrough, these are pretty decent fights, but after that, it's
Okay.
trivial. You really just want to get it over with, and luckily, they don't really hold you too much. To where you have to spend all this time for this side story. It's mostly the cutscenes afterwards that take up the time, and I think that they had pretty good focus with it because yeah, I mean they can hit you, they can hit you pretty hard. Might even knock out a Pokemon every now and then, but it's not so overwhelming that you can't beat them. And then later you can come back and you can catch those Pokemon there as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you can.
So now that we talked about the three storylines, let's talk about the three characters that are most involved. Before we do, I'm gonna run to the kitchen real quick, and I'm gonna put
Oh,
this
well,
away because
sweet.
my chicken strips are getting thawed.
There you go.
Here I am thinking we'll be done with this in less than an hour. All right, so first let's talk about Nemona. Um, Nemona is your core rival in this game. Arvin calls you his best friend. You're like he's like your best friend. He's very territorial about that. And I think it's really cute if you play as a girl and he does that because then it comes across more crushy. But Nemona's whole thing is that she has hit the pinnacle of the region. She's become a champion. She's been recognized by the top champion, Jita, and she has the potential to one day be La Primera or like the absolute best trainer in the region. But she has a lot of insecurities, and there's a lot more to it that you hear about at the end of the game. And her big deal is that the reason why she chose you and the reason why she wants to develop that relationship with you, the reason why she wants to try all over again, is because she's hoping that you will give her what she's been looking for, which is like a true challenge that satisfies her. She's kind of on the spectrum. She's really fixated with battles to the point where everything else kind of she has to bring back into her forefront because she's focused solely on that battle part. But Nimona, I think we've all at some point just stopped and said, you know what, she's a really cool character. So Darren, give me your thoughts on Nimona.
Yeah, on the outside looking in, I can see why someone was just like, she's super obsessive with battles. All she wants to do is battle, battle, battle. And like you said, it's just because
She could
every
be the
time
main
she
character.
goes at every time she comes across someone and wants to battle, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
So she sees a lot of potential in you starting at that first battle when you pick starters, and she keeps nurturing you along, helping you out on your journey. I said she's a very enjoyable character. I very much like her. Definitely my favorite female rival
Mm-hmm.
in the main games,
Yep.
because usually it's just been like she's still your friend, but she,
She
instead of just like,
absolutely wants to battle you.
and like you said, she could be the main character. She really gives you a drive to continue on,
Yeah.
to keep doing your thing. And yeah, she's just like I said, a good character all around.
If they
I really like
wanted
her a
to
lot.
go the DLC route, Pokemon Horizons would just be about Nimona before she meets the protagonist,
Mm-hmm.
and it would
There
just be
you
her
go.
ascension to champion status. Um, so yeah, the big thing that sets Nimona apart from how she initially looks is the fact that people are scared of her. They don't really like battling her anymore because they see how intense she is about it. To the point where people will say things like, "Oh, aren't Pokemon battles supposed to be fun?" And this is something that the community has been talking about for decades. Any person that's played video games knows that there's a big difference between the people that take it seriously and competitively and people that just want to play video games for fun. Nimona is a character that discusses that dichotomy just a little bit. And it would be cool if Pokemon was a different kind of game. If it was like a true JRPG, you could have hours and hours of conversations with her about it. Maybe you could have a whole subplot where Nimona is like truly facing those repercussions. But this is a lonely character. This is a character that needed somebody to come into her life and change the way that she felt about herself, and you are that person, and I think that means a lot. That's a very big, obviously super big core to what this game is about: finding yourself, finding the things that matter to you. Team Star, like I said before, it's my favorite storyline for that exact reason. And when you find that out about Nimona, you it should change your perspective on what she does, because it shows a completely different level of depth than we usually get from a rival. I know, again, Gen 5 Black and White 2 with you. um yeah, Hugh, right?
Yeah.
Hugh. That's how it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got a whole storyline going on, and you can't help but feel bad for him. But it's rare that we get a rival that truly embodies multiple sides of the Pokemon world, like you does. Or I can't even think of any other examples, honestly. He's probably the best example.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
of like a start to end, like Barry to an extent. Oh, obviously we have not how. What is bro's name from Gen 8? It's not how.
Oh, Hop?
Hop. His name's Hop. Hop's insane in Gen
Mm-hmm.
8. I can't wait. I can't wait. We're gonna play through Gen 8 again. It's been so long. It's been like what, 4 or 5 years now since that game came
Pretty
out?
much, yeah. 2018, I think, is
Crazy.
when it came out.
Absolutely crazy. It came out definitely before the pandemic. It came out.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Um but yeah. So then you have Arvin. Oh, sorry. I wrote a fun fact for these characters. The most fun fact is that we have no idea where she's actually from. She's not from Paldea, but she speaks Spanish and alludes to the whole Spain part. So maybe she's from like an island off the coast or something. But who knows? Maybe she's from Poke Mexico. Some
Who
Spanish
knows?
speaking place. And then her badges in game apparently look different than yours, which I think is weird. That's something I would definitely want to see and look up at some point. Um, Maybe gym leaders change often. Who knows? So next is Arvin. Darian, I'm gonna let you handle the introduction to Arvin because I'm sure this is a part of the game that you as a dog boy can really relate to. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's great to see. At first Arvin is like, I notice like you meet him at the lighthouse,
Yep.
and of course we find out later that's his mother or father, whatever, depending
Mm-hmm.
on your version. That's the lab, the secret lab. He notices you have the legendary with you. He's like, and then he challenges you to a battle so you can keep it, but he doesn't really tell you. He said, "I just want to go across the map and find all these urban mythicas because I'm a chef. I like to cook and things of that nature, make my
Mm-hmm.
dishes different." I think it's after
It's like the
the
third one
second
for
one.
sure.
Yeah, he's like, they're like, you eat your sandwich, you leave out of the cave. He's like, all right, you can come out now. When you hear the Pokeball song, like, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on?
Yeah.
And then I think it's the third one they actually show you that his Mabosif is ill and he wants to fully traverse the region to find Arrow Mystica to hopefully bring it back to tip top health.
Yep.
And as you traverse, it gets healthier and healthier until it becomes the normal Mabosif. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's hilarious that literally right after, if you choose to do so, you can just battle
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yep.
which is interesting. But yeah, he's got such a great storyline. He's became a fan favorite character pretty quickly. He has a, I like you said, I know he said he's very protective of you, kind of
Mm-hmm.
fights over you a bit. He's like, oh, yeah, he can't wait for you to take the gym challenge. And Armin's like, well, I thought you were gonna help me. And Penny's like, I thought you were gonna help me. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
It
yeah, and
the dynamic
it's
between
great.
your friend group. I honestly I could say so many things about that dynamic, but yeah, Arvin is a little bit more he's a little more sheltered because his parent was not around a lot. Their parent passed away before they got the chance to really hash it out with them. So it's very understandable that with Mabustiff being the only thing he's got, having a parent that he knows is always goal oriented and way too focused on their own life to really be there for them. Arvin has imposter syndrome because of that as well, because their mom slash dad is super famous, and there's so much there that again people can just absolutely relate to. It's super JRPG. Pokemon's really been coming into its own over these past few games. Um, like Gen 5 aside, like even with Gen 5, right? Like Gen 5 does things decently, but Gen 9's like storylines, characters, they definitely bring it to that level where you do not have a single thing missed about these characters, why they're doing the things they do, and it all just clicks in the end. Um, I would say that my favorite thing about Arvin is the way home when he finally gets to see what happened to his parent, and in the post game he really struggles to find his direction, and then he eventually just goes right back to cooking, and that's the thing that he's like, this is what I want to do, this is why I want to do it, this is how I'm gonna go about it. Um, Amazing character to the point where he won the 2022 Famitsu Dengeki Game Award for Best Character, which is crazy. It's probably just a Japanese specific thing. Those are Japanese
Hmm.
words. Famitsu might even be like a brand. But yeah, he was voted Best Character in 2022 out of all the video game characters. Uh, and it's not hard to see why. The dude's storyline is something that a lot of people, it'll, if you're a pet owner, it tears at your heartstrings. If you're a parent, if you're the child of a parent, like there's a lot of, different emotional hits to that character. It's honestly a wonder that he's even able to be a functioning human being after all he's been through. But that's why he's so protective of you, and that's why he's so insistent that that he's your best friend. And you know what? He deserves to be our best friend because he stuck by us, and we stuck by him. Finally, my favorite of the three, fuck Arvin, Penny, best character. She is the only villain to ever succeed in their evil plan, and she's also the youngest evil villain ever. Um, she's from Galar. We met her dad and her sister in the previous games, and she's also the only trainer to truly use a full team of evolutions. Penny, I genuinely don't know what caused her to do what she did. I can't remember a single line of dialogue. I'm really more focused on the admins than Penny. Penny just kind of
Yeah.
comes in. Um, she doesn't have too many reasons to end up doing what she does. But she is recluse. She doesn't like to go out much. She's very introverted, so it makes sense that she didn't get along with people. Um, but the fact that honestly, I didn't think she was Cassiopeia because as soon as she finished talking to Cassiopeia, Penny walks up and she's like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm also helping out with this," and that just made sense at the time. That was enough of an explanation. The team star members, they're all doing their own thing. They are one tight knit group, and they never actually met Penny until the end of the game. Once you finally confront her and you guys have your battle, that's when she finally meets them for the first time. So it's not just a matter of, hey, Penny's like the only other person in the storyline. Cassiopeia could have been any random character, and this
Yeah.
game has so many of them. It could have been Clavel. It
Yeah,
could have been
especially since now that I'm looking at this trying to find more information, you remember at the beginning of the game, this Team Star Grunts are giving her some
giving her
trouble.
shit.
As
Yeah,
yeah, so
that's how you meet
at
her.
first you probably wouldn't think like that she could do it. So I don't know if they just didn't know if they're new recruits or something, but yeah, it's a nice little thing you can say. Oh yeah, they were giving her trouble.
Yep.
So you wouldn't think they would do that to their leader.
Right,
So
but they didn't even know that was their leader, and
yeah,
that's why it's such a good reveal. Later on in the game, she really doesn't give off any impression that she's invested at all in the Team Star stuff. She does that all as Cassiopeia over the phone. But when she meets you, she's, a little skittish. She's just kind of going along with her plan the best that she can. And Koraidon throws her off every single time, absolutely licking the mess out of her. And showing her all of that attention that honestly it doesn't even show anyone else. Penny's like Koraidon and Miraidon's favorite, which is weird. Again, the fact that she's from Galar, the fact that she hints at her father in the way home, really cool. Um, she's just definitely another like fan favorite character. I think Lamona's obviously the one that gets off with the least understanding because you really have to read and assess sort of like the overall for her. But like Arvin and Penny are both like really really solid characters. The fact that she cares very deeply about these people that she never actually met is very relatable. Considering the fact that Darian's all the way in North Carolina, I'm all the way in Connecticut. I've been talking to my friends from North Carolina since 9 years ago when I finished high school, and that has been my life for the past decade. It's just like hanging out with my friends in Discord. So it's definitely hard to live life like that sometimes, and I think it's great that she managed to still make friends. And then in the post game, she's still kind of just in the background when the Team Star group is like reforming and working hard together. Like she wants to interact, but again, she's more introverted. She's not just she shows up sometimes. She's like, oh, hey guys, and it's great. It's lovely. I absolutely love it. So to conclude this video, we have one more group of trainers talk. Fuck, we didn't talk about the professors.
I thought that was. I
We
don't
did.
know if
We
were
we
doing that
mentioned
next
them.
time.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. It's definitely here. So,
Okay.
Professor Sada, Turo, and the AI
Oh, that's
professors.
her. I was thinking of the teachers.
You know what? We'll wait. We'll wait. We'll talk about that when we talk about the way home next time.
That works.
Yeah, I think that'd be much better than sort of flip flopping because again,
Yeah.
when I say my favorite part of any Pokemon game, it like this game's just my favorite Pokemon game at this point. There's just so much stuff that I came out of it both times I played it. Like, man, that was great. Can't say that for Gen 8. Can't say that for Gen 7. Can't say that for Gen 6. I mean, Gen 9 just does it all in a much better way. So the last group of trainers that we're going to talk about, and we're going to conclude this hour-long video. Rika, Poppy, Larry, again, Hassel, and Jita. The Elite Four gauntlet of this game. So I will preface this by saying that this Elite Four has a very unique thing about them that we don't see in every single Pokemon game. We only see this in a few games. They come out and meet you during your journey. And they all have, again, like different things that they got going on. Like Rika is a reporter of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
She's also another one of those really interesting androgynous characters. You can't really tell if she's a woman or a man at times, which just makes her look a lot cooler. Poppy is a literal preschooler.
Yeah.
Larry comes back because he was told to do this, and Hassel is your teacher, and you know at every point in the game, after your gym challenges, you might meet one of them because they're scouting you. And that's completely different than we see in the rest of the games. Usually, if someone comes up to you in a Pokemon game like, oh, you know what, you're a pretty strong trainer, it's bullshit. They're just saying that because you're the main character. You're not actually doing anything crazy. But in this game, it matters because just like in Gen 8, there's a system involved that you are a part of. You are a student. You have the right to go around the region and figure out what it is that matters to you. And obviously, every trainer's doing the gym battles. And there, it starts off with Rika giving you a full test. You have to pass a test to challenge the Elite Four. We've never done that before. You know, and you can fail. I watched Darian and Sean fail this somehow. And
I don't even remember when I did that.
Rika will send your ass back and make you do it again. So, you know, it's great. Obviously, on release, the music was not fully revealed, but we got to hear the full OST this time playing it, which, again, like glitches and stuff aside, these are amazing Pokemon games. They don't have to be perfect. Pokemon games do not have to be perfect to be amazing experiences. But Rika, ground type trainer, her team consists of Whiscash, Camerupt, Donphan, Dugtrio, and Clodsire. Solid team. Poppy. Poppy's thing, I don't know. Should we go one at a time? There's not much to say about them all.
No, not really. The only other thing I may add is it's interesting because not only, like you said, they're scouting us around in the interview process. Because we remember in Paldea, you weren't just, this isn't like old games where you beat the Elite Four, beat the champion, become champion. There's a rank. Yep. There's a champion rank trainers. Yep. You're champion rank trainer. So
yep.
that I'm assuming comes with more responsibilities.
Yeah, nothing too special.
Yeah, but let me see.
That does make that.
I don't even know Poppy's thing. I don't know what the heck she does other than being a.
No, yeah, Poppy is just a prodigy. She's just an amazingly strong trainer. There's nothing else about her. Rika is usually her caretaker, and she loves battling. That's about it. Like she's a literal child. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Her team consists of Caporaja, Magnezone, Bronzong, Corviknight, and Tinkaton. I'm sure they just came up with Tinkaton like, oh, you know what would be really cool if Tinkaton's trainer was also a child.
Yeah.
That's probably what we got. And she has Corviknight and Tinkaton. Poppy's scary. Poppy is genuinely scary. To have Tinkaton and Corviknight on her team is really funny though.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then obviously Larry, we talked about Larry. Come on, Larry's everybody's favorite character.
He's like, oh, they're making me be here, and I can't use normal types.
Yep, so he switches to flying types. He has Tropius, which already makes his team a W. Oricorio, Altaria, Staraptor, and Flamigo. Honestly, about the same from his normal team. His normal team wasn't that crazy. And then Hassel. There's so much we can say about Hassel, so I'm gonna keep it brief. He's also an artist, similar to Brassius. He was a big motivator for him to really get back on his feet and go out and try again. Hassel is super emotional, but he's also super serious, and he takes his jobs really seriously. He's very passionate, but when he breaks down crying, he really breaks down hard.
Yeah.
He is probably the most unique dragon type trainer we have ever had because there's nothing regal about him. If you think of like Drayden, no, yeah. Wait, I said Drayden. What's his name from Gen 5?
Oh, yeah, Drayden. That's his name.
You know what's crazy? There is a trainer in the DLC.
Yeah.
And his name is
Drayden. Drayton, yeah.
And in Black and White, his name is Drayden.
Yeah, Drayden.
Drayden and Drayton.
Yeah.
They have the same name.
They have to be related somehow.
So
this is a Gen 5 DLC. What's their affiliation?
That's pretty funny. So yeah, you have Drayden, who is in charge of like this whole thing with the dragon types. Iris, in the anime, she's part of like a whole dragon village type deal. You have Drake. You have Lance. Like
Yeah,
most Dragon
Claire
type
and Lance, very regal.
most Dragon
Drayden's his
type.
grandfather. Oh, noted.
See, I knew it. There's gotta be something there.
Yeah.
And then Hassel is just a teacher at a school. He's got prestige to him, but not in like an obvious way. Claire even like every
Yeah.
other dragon trainer that we have is very very different. They're on a much more deeper level with the overall lore of Pokemon. But Hassel is just a teacher that also happens to use the dragon type.
Yeah.
And you get to know him more than most other Pokemon trainers because he's your teacher, and you get to have a bunch of classes with him. He's the only one of your teachers that ends up being Elite Four, which completely flips the Alola cop out of, oh, we're just gonna have you read Battle 4 trainers because
Yeah.
we don't have a Pokemon League yet. That kind of thing. And then they bring in like a random golfer in Ultra Sun
Yeah.
Ultimate.
His
I'm over it.
name
I'm
eludes
so
me.
over it. I Gens 8 and 9 just like really started to broaden my horizons when it comes to this kind of stuff. Especially Gen 9. Gen 9 clears the rest of the franchise in terms of just like, here are characters, we will establish them. You go do whatever the heck you want, but remember you're gonna have to talk to these guys at some point. And then finally Jita. Honestly, we need to stop clowning Elite Four champions. It's Pokemon. Cynthia's the only one that anyone takes seriously, anyways. Name one other Elite Four member that people talk about. Elite Four champion that people talk about.
Maybe Leon, but I don't know. That could be recency bias as well. People are calling
Leon.
Lance Bird Keeper Lance because of all the flying types he
Yep.
uses.
Yep.
I don't think anyone really cares about Alder.
Your
I don't
rival.
really see him
Your
brought
rival
up.
in Red Blue is whatever.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
And then you got Lance pretty much back to back games. Steven and Wallace are kind of there.
Steven's a much better fight than
Yeah.
Wallace because of his team. Like he
But
has like
Iris
Daily
is
Mega Cross.
cool.
Iris is a
Diantha's
hard
not
fight, and
yeah.
so is Cynthia, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Diantha's not really talked about. Hal and Kukui are pretty good, and then Leon. I like Leon a lot. He's
So
they
out of
built
nine,
him up very well.
okay, so out of 9 generations, the only Elite Four members you actually take seriously are Iris, Cynthia, and Leon. Maybe Steven. Maybe Steven.
The Gen 5 Elite Four is tough, but there's never any. They're still kind of just Elite Four members. There's nothing.
And
Like,
you don't fight Alder.
yeah, you fight him after you fight in.
I never fought him because it wasn't required to beat the game. So
yeah,
throw that out the fucking water.
yeah.
That
and then
doesn't
everyone
matter.
else is kind of just an Elite Four member.
So I mean, yeah, no, I mean, most of the time the battles don't matter. It's the anticipation and the gauntlet of the Elite Four that matters more than the actual battles, because most of the time it's just about whether or not you're prepared for the fight. And her team's not bad. It's just that she does not use them in an optimal order. Right. And they knew that, and there are parts and hints to her character that make sense why she wouldn't just lead with Glamour and make King Gambit her ace. But it does get rectified in a future battle, so it makes sense that she doesn't hold back, but she also fulfills a more important role than being top trainer. She's also challenging you to see if you can compete at that level, and you can. And that's about it. Any other thoughts for Jita? Because honestly, I'm over the whole Elite Four members have to be the most insane thing you've ever seen. It's hard for me to name like even a quarter of the full roster. There are plenty of Elite Four trainers that are much more of a threat than the champion. Again, every single member of Black and White 2's Elite Four.
Oh yeah, good lord, they would stomp Alder out in the streets, brother. You look at those dadgum World Tournament teams. I mean, Alder's strong, but Chantal, Marshall, Grimsley,
yep.
Caitlyn, all those guys.
All of them.
They'd run you down.
Any one of them could be an Elite Four champion. And even here, like Hassel's team's really good, and I mean, like, if Larry wasn't using flying types, maybe.
Hell, Penny could probably not Penny. Yep, not Penny. What's her name? Poppy. Poppy. She could even be a champion, maybe.
If Poppy was a champion, that'd be pretty great too.
Steel is a very strong in-game type, so she just gets a different team maybe later on in the future. Mm-hmm. They age her up in the distance sometime if she reappears.
Yep.
Later on down the line, she could have an even stronger team. Her team's already strong as it is. But
for sure. Before we conclude, what's your favorite Gen 9 Pokemon?
Glamora.
Is it really?
It is Glamora. Ever since I used it and saw it, I'm like, I love this thing because it is a bit different from the norm. It is a special attacking rock type.
Mm.
Rock poison, I think, is a really cool typing. It's got a disgusting ability in toxic debris. Every time you hit it, it just spreads
That's true.
toxic spikes everywhere.
It's a monster.
I love its design, especially when it hangs on the caves in like Area Zero with the crystals, and it's like that blue purple color scheme.
Mm.
Before that, it was either Tinkaton or Skeledirge, but
Yeah,
after
Tinkaton.
after a while, Glamora is definitely my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon.
Yeah, mine's is a little hard. Obviously King Gambit is up there for me. I love
Yeah.
I love King Gambit. And the only other Pokemon that I think Lokix would be up there as well
Oh yeah, I love Lokix.
because of the
Bug
Kamen Rider.
Darkest.
The Kamen
Yeah,
Rider reference
and such a good typing as well.
is really important for me. And then
Oh, Kilowattrel was actually probably an
we
MVP on
use
my
Kilowattrel.
team. it
Kilowattrel's a
was it was
monster.
so good.
And I
Uh
also always say Bramblegast. I like Bramblegast a lot.
yeah.
So I think those are my
Orthworm.
favorite.
I love Orthworm. He's a big goof.
Yep.
Spidops I mentioned earlier.
Yep,
Just a lot
Spidops.
of great Pokemon in this
There are some
generation.
really fun Pokemon, and honestly, I don't know if I'll ever play these games again. They're super, super long, and unfortunately, the thing that I've gotten used to is the nice and sweet. I'll play a game for a week, or I'll make a whole playthrough of Pokemon Emerald for 3 years and take like 6 month breaks in between. But yeah, man, I these easily favorite. We'll come back again shortly. In the next part, we're discussing the school teachers and the ending to the game, as well as Terra type, shiny hunting, and raid battles. So thank you guys so much for watching part one of our 3-part Pokemon Scarlet and Violet review. Blame Game Freak for putting so much crazy things in the game that we have to talk about. And then the third part, we're gonna strictly do DLC. Thank you guys so much again, because we're doing way more than we need to. And until the next time, we hope you take care. Say bye, Darren.
Goodbye.